Okay, well, I'm going to be working on a detailed background here today, and so to conserve time, I'm going to do all the outlines in time lapse, and then I'll come back to talk about what I did. Okay, well, I think I have enough of it in place that I can take a little time to talk about stuff and what I'm trying to do with this background. First of all, as I say in so many of my videos, reference is very important. This series of shrines here that I have drawn, little Japanese shrines, I could not have just drawn this from memory. I, of course, looked at an old sketch that I made. You know, I'm fortunate enough to be able to go to Japan periodically to visit my wife's folks, and so when I'm over there, I always do sketches. But even for those of you who never get to go to Japan, you can find a lot of this stuff on Google image search, and I always suggest, especially with backgrounds, but for almost anything, do yourself a favor and check out some reference to get the details right for stuff like this. In any case, one of the main things that I'm going to be trying to do in this video is give a suggestion of depth of objects that are closer, like these shrines here very near to us. How do you convey that in an illustration? Well, the key thing really is that the darker your outlines are, and maybe the more intense your colors are, the closer something comes. So you can see me here working with my usual black Prismacolor to start to add a little more definition to these shrines that are nearer to the viewer, and combine that with the way that I color this. I'm going to do it in watercolor because we want to be consistent with what I did before here. Using more intense colors on the objects that are closer to us, you really can create a pretty cool illusion of depth. So no matter what you're drawing, shrines or whatever, you can try to use this technique of creating a feeling of depth by making darker outlines on any of the objects that you want to sort of pop or come out closer to you. Although keep in mind that maybe your figure here should always have the darkest outline of all. You don't want that figure to get upstaged by your background. I mean, the background generally is meant to be supporting the figure in the foreground, and you don't want to get too carried away with getting crazy with the details and so forth to the point where people are distracted by the background, or where your figure here feels like she's being crowded out by the background. So that's something to keep an eye on. And I mean, the good news is that means you spend a little less time on the background. So it's probably as I have said in other videos, it's always a good idea to know when to stop, or at least to always be asking yourself, when is it, have I already done enough? And I think maybe with this outlining stuff that I've done here, it probably is time for me to stop. And I'm going to get into the coloring. Again, I'm going to have to do it all in time-lapse, but I'll come back later on to talk about what I've done. Okay, well, I've got all the coloring done. You know, obviously I blasted through a huge amount of stuff in time-lapse there. The problem with doing a video about how to draw backgrounds is, you know, it'd end up being like a 10-part video if I tried to talk about every aspect of this. But for this video, let's just focus on this thing, this aspect of creating the illusion of depth. Notice how when I went in to do the coloring, I kept coming back into these spots and making them darker and darker and darker. And then maybe these blades of grass here that are maybe the closest to us are the very darkest. And then way back here, I just left it super light, you know. I kept it as light as I could. And same goes for the intensity of the color of the grass. It's pretty green here, but go back there, it's really all washed out. Well, that's a technique of creating the illusion of depth. And if you are outdoors on a kind of a day where there's a lot of dust in the air or something, and you look into the distance, you'll see that this occurs. You know, the farther things are from you, the more they get kind of washed out looking. Certainly when you look at the hillside way, way miles away, it gets very pale. So that's what artists will take advantage of that and try to create the illusion of depth by intensifying the colors and especially the line work. The more you outline something like I'm doing right now with black Prismacolor pencil, the more you start to bring it close to the viewer. And if you look at something like this, I would go into here just very, very lightly, you know, just hints of details and let it really stay back there. I don't want this to pop at all. I want it to really fall away from the viewer's eye. So I just very lightly go in and try to contain it a little bit, you know, suggest a little more detail. But it's kind of cool in a way when you do something like this, especially if you've got these shrines in the foreground and everyone sees the details of the shrines. The viewer almost finishes the picture for you at this. They look over here and in their imagination they know what these are supposed to be, and you don't have to get too intense, and you probably shouldn't get too intense with the details. Let these things stay almost impressionist, you know. Draw upon your inner Monet. And leave it real light over there. But for these things, and watch this, you know, with this, just to make a point, I'm going to go in and really start darkening in these lines, although I don't know if I would necessarily do that if this were to be a finished illustration. But notice how the more I put these lines in, the more it just comes closer to us somehow. You know, we read that as seeing this object being very close to us, closer to us than this, because I've put all these dark lines on it. And I can do the same with the blades of grass. You know, the color has done a lot of that for me, but I'm going to go in here and outline these. And again, watch how it just makes everything pop and come closer. This is another one of these things that I could spend ages on, and I probably will continue to work on this just a little bit after I've completed this video. And you will, I'll let you see I'll put the finished piece up over on my DeviantArt account, and you can check it out in greater detail if you want to see what the final thing ended up looking like. But for now, I should probably be signing off, but not before mentioning, once again, that these videos are brought to you by Miki Falls, my manga series. And these kinds of shrines actually make numerous appearances in Miki Falls. The more you look through, the more of them you'll find. Well, thanks a bunch for watching my videos and for subscribing, everybody. I really appreciate you supporting me. And I'll be back with another video, we'll get the pencil out of here, soon.